Chapter 23 Reconstruction. Chapter 23 Reconstruction. Reconstruction was the name of a era after the Civil War ended, lasting for 1865 to 1877. The government and people struggled to find a balance between uniting the country and assisting former slaves. The Freedmen's Bureau. Lincoln and Congress established the Freedmen's Bureau, an agency whose goal was to help the newly freed men by providing education, food, housing, and medical aid. The Bureau was understaffed, undermanned, and lacked funding, but managed to set up schools and universities for former slaves. The Freedmen's Bureau was under General O. Howard and Harvard University was named in his honor. Lincoln's assassination. On April 14, 1865, only a month after the Bureau was established and just days after Lee and Grant met in Appomattox to negotiate the South surrender, President Lincoln and his wife attended the play at Ford's Theater in Washington. During the play, Lincoln was shot in the head by Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes Booth and died the following morning. President Lincoln was the first American president to be assassinated, to kill an important person, usually for political reasons. Booth's conspirators attacked the Secretary of State, William Seward, and severely wounded him, and were also supposed to kill Vice President Andrew Johnson. Lincoln's death destroyed any hope for the orderly reconstruction. Johnson's reconstruction and black code. Lincoln's vice president, former Democrat Andrew Johnson, was sworn into office. Although Johnson followed Lincoln's agenda for reconstruction for his presidential duty, he did not believe in racial equality, and his interpretation of reconstruction was lenient, merciful toward the South. Every southern state except Texas created new government, and Johnson approved them. Their legislature passed new laws. Many of the laws were black codes, discriminatory laws that denied the civil rights of black in South and prevented the Freedmen's Bureau from doing its work. Discriminatory treatment against people based on the group or class to which they belong, such as race. Civil right that protect the ability to participate in activities granted to citizens without discrimination, personal liberties. Some members of Congress, the radical Republicans, decide that the federal government should intervene. Congress gave the Freedmen's Bureau more powers and passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which confirmed that blacks were citizens and overturned the Dred Scott decision of 1857. Radical, extreme. The 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution was passed in June 1868. It ensured that any person except Native Americans born or naturalized in the U.S. was a citizen with full right, such as due process. Due process, the normal way that the law is practiced, the process that is due to each citizen. All of the states had to accept this amendment to re-enter the Union. This led to riot in the South, an influx of black voters, and an unsuccessful attempt by Johnson to oppose it. Radical Reconstruction. The Republicans initiated radical reconstruction. Congress, not the president, took charge of reconstruction effort. In March 1867, Congress passed the Reconstruction Act, which divided the South into 5 military districts and would be controlled by a military commander until the southern states were readmitted to the Union. Radical Reconstruction strict. Impeachment. Aware that Johnson opposed radical reconstruction, Congress also passed the Tenure of Office Act. Tenure, term and period in an office or position, which limited executive power by requiring the president to secure congressional approval before he could remove members of his cabinet. During the summer of 1867, when Congress wasn't in session, President Johnson fired his Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton. Congress voted to impeach Johnson for doing it without their approval and unofficially for disagreeing with Congress. In February 1868, Johnson was tried in the Senate but was acquitted. Pretty clear, acquitted by just one vote. He didn't run for re-election. The election of 1868. In the presidential election of 1868, the Democratic former governor of New York, Harriet Seymour, ran against the Republic War hero Ulysses S. Grant, having acquired the support of Republicans in the North and newly enfranchised, give voting right to African Americans in the South. Grant won the election. Virginia, Mississippi, and Texas were allowed to participate because they weren't fully reconstructed yet. Enfranchise. To set free and endow with a franchise such as the right to vote. Because African Americans turned out in high number to vote in the presidential election, Republicans feared that southern states would try to limit their voting in future elections. In 1869, Congress proposed the 15th Amendment, which made it illegal to deny citizens the right to vote based on race. The 15th Amendment did not make any qualification regarding the gender, that women still could not vote. Life for former slaves. In 1870, Harlem rebels became first African American in the U.S. Senate, representing Mississippi. In 1875, Blanche K. Bruce, also from Mississippi, became the second black senator. Most former slaves remained poor. General Sherman had proposed a plan to divide plantations among freedmen, so everyone would literally get 40 acres and mule. But this was opposed by Congress. Most former slaves recourse to either contract work on plantations or the philanthroping, a system whereby farmers receive supplies and land in exchange for providing a share of the crop of the landowner. System which often forced them into a lifetime of debt landowners. The Ku Klux Klan. In 1866, a secret organization called the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK, was organized in Tennessee with the purpose of violently opposing civil rights. Wearing disguises and hiding their faces, members attacked individuals, lynching many, to execute someone, usually by hanging without a trial. Local authorities often turned a blind eye. The Force Act passed by the Congress and signed by Grant allowed the military to enforce the 14th Amendment, which helped destroy the KKK. However, it would be revived in the 1920s. Carpetbaggers and scalawags. Northerners who came to work in the South to reformers were known as Chapsbags after the rugs made of carpet that they used. Carpetbaggers were accused by trying to make a profit from reconstruction. Southerners who supported the government were known as scalawags or rascals. They were seen as traitors to the South. The Panic of 1876. In September 1873, a Philadelphia financial firm called J. Cook and Company went bankrupt, setting up the Panic of 1873. A major economic depression followed. Republicans were blamed. The Compromise of 1877. In the election of 1876, the Republican Party ran Rutherford B. Hyatt, the modern governor of Ohio, against Democratic Samuel Tilden, who fought corruption as governor of New York. Although it appeared that Tilden had won, the Republicans disputed the electoral vote from the newly reconstructed states. Congress appointed a commission that led to the Compromise of 1877. Hyatt would become president, but in return federal troops would leave the South and provide Southerners with aid for public projects. The Compromise of 1877 essentially ended Reconstruction. Southern redemption, compensation. Southern Democrats retook control of their state government, seen as the restorers of the true South. They became known as redeemers, redeem, to recover or make amend for, compensate for. They aimed to decrease taxes, decrease the size of government, and decrease racial equality, although the 15th Amendment guaranteed citizens the right to vote regardless of race. Southern states instituted poll taxes, requiring people to pay money to vote, and literacy tests, requiring a certain level of literacy to vote, education, earning. These measures made it very difficult for former slaves to participate in government, but they did not have as much as an effect on white. Most white men, even the poor and uneducated, were exempted freed from responsibility, from both the text and the literally tested by grandfather clauses, laws that protected men whose father or grandfather voted before the Civil War because they were white. These laws weren't specially based on race, so they were allowed to continue. Southern states passed measures known as the Jim Crow laws, which kept black citizens and white citizens separate. Placebos, precaution. When Homer Presley rode in a white Omni segregated railroad car and was arrested, he sued the railroad company. The Supreme Court ruled Presley the Ferguson decision that segregation was legal as long as facilitated for blacks were separate but equal to those for white. The Civil War was over, but equality was still a long road away. Segregation, the imposed separation of people, specifically on the basis of race.